The Galactic Council, a vast and influential assembly of powerful alien species, had long seen humanity as insignificant, an emerging species in a universe teeming with superior races. Earth, with its ancient history and war-torn past, had been deemed too primitive, too volatile, and too unpredictable to be part of the interstellar community. They often scoffed at the idea that humanity could pose any serious threat to their unified, well-established power. It had been a mistake to underestimate them. It would be their last. In an isolated corner of the galaxy, a human girl, her name was Lyra, was brought before the council. She was no diplomat or leader. She was a simple girl, abducted by the council's agents during one of their routine surveys of the outer reaches. The council had deemed her irrelevant, believing that her only purpose would be to serve as an example of humanity's insignificance. They saw no need to consider her more than a piece of collateral in their ongoing efforts to reinforce their control over lesser species. Lyra had been chosen not for her significance, but because she embodied the worst possible outcome for the council: humanity's raw, untamed potential. Still, they didn't understand that. They thought killing her would silence the small ripple humanity had made in galactic affairs. What they failed to realize was that, deep beneath the surface of her unassuming form, Lyra was more than just a human. She was part of something far greater, something older than the council itself. The council chamber was a vast, cold place. Its walls shimmered with the dark metallic sheen of an ancient alien race, its interior lined with towering, holographic representations of the galaxy's most powerful species. Alien dignitaries sat at a long, glowing table, their eyes fixed on the human girl who stood at the center. Lyra was brought before them as an example of the futility of human existence. Her face was bruised, her clothes torn, but her eyes were sharp, cold, defiant, and filled with an unspoken power. She was the product of humanity's strength, its perseverance, and most importantly, its refusal to die. The council began their trial. They were arrogant, dismissing her as an insignificant pawn in their great game of galactic politics. They spoke in their native tongues, voices clicking and hissing in languages that Lyra could barely understand, but she knew what they were doing. They were deciding how best to dispose of her. The aliens debated her fate, some arguing for a quick execution, others suggesting a more public display of the lesser species' weakness. But Lyra said nothing. Her silence unsettled them more than they realized. They expected her to beg for her life, to show weakness, to grovel before the most powerful beings in the galaxy. But she refused. As the minutes stretched on, one council member, a tall and powerful creature from the Vinrex Dominion, stepped forward. His skin shimmered with shades of blue and silver, and his eyes glowed with a calculating light. "This is the human?" he asked, his voice deep and imposing. Lyra's heart raced, but she kept her expression calm. She was alone, surrounded by creatures far stronger, far more advanced than she, but she was not afraid. She wasn't afraid because she knew something they didn't. "Yes," she said coldly. "I am the human you chose to destroy." The room went silent. The other council members shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting to one another. The Vinrex commander leaned in closer. "Why should we spare you, little human?" he mocked. "Because," Lyra spoke slowly, her voice steady and unwavering, "you are making a grave mistake. You think you have the power to wipe out humanity, but you have no idea what you are truly dealing with. The moment you killed me, you sealed your fate." The Vinrex laughed, a low, rumbling sound that reverberated through the chamber. "Do you believe your species can threaten us? You are insignificant. Your kind is a mere flicker in the vast darkness of the universe." "That's where you're wrong," Lyra replied, her voice growing stronger. "You think you control everything, but you've never known the true power of humanity. When we are pushed beyond our limits, when we are faced with extinction, we become something else entirely." At that moment, something shifted. A presence, ancient and powerful, began to stir in the depths of the room. It was like a shift in the air, a faint vibration that only those in tune with the universe could feel. The council members faltered, their confident stances weakening, as they instinctively began to realize that they had underestimated humanity. "Do not mock us," Lyra continued, her voice rising with power. "You think you've destroyed us, but you don't understand what you've unleashed. You think this is the end? No, this is just the beginning. We are more than what you see, more than what you know. And now, you will pay the price." The Vinrex stopped laughing, a flicker of doubt crossing his face. The room began to feel colder, the walls seeming to close in. One by one, the council members began to panic. They had seen species crumble under the weight of their superiority. But this was different. They could feel it now, a vast, overwhelming force lurking just below the surface. It was not just Lyra. It was something far older, something that had been dormant within humanity for eons. Lyra's eyes flashed with an intense, glowing light. The power she had tapped into began to awaken, spreading throughout the chamber like an uncontrollable force. The council members reached for their weapons, but it was too late. The very essence of humanity, its will to survive, its tenacity, its refusal to yield, had been unleashed. Lyra took one last, defiant step forward. "Pray," she said, her voice now a commanding roar, "because the moment you struck us down, you sealed your doom. You are no longer the hunters. You are the hunted. And we do not lose." The Galactic Council had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated the depth of humanity's spirit, the power of its unity. And they had killed the wrong person. In their arrogance, they failed to see the truth. Humanity was never just a species. It was a force of nature. In the end, the council members did not die immediately. But as they fled in terror, they realized their mistake. The true strength of humanity wasn't in its technology or its weapons. It was in its relentless, unyielding will to survive. And now, that will was coming for them. The universe would soon learn that humanity was no longer something to be ignored. Lyra had been the catalyst, the spark that ignited something that could not be stopped. As the message of her warning spread, galaxies far and wide would understand. Humanity had been underestimated for the last time. And those who thought they could destroy them would soon find out that when humanity says, "Pray," it is not a plea, it is a warning. The council chambers were in chaos. The previously proud and unyielding alien leaders now found themselves fleeing in panic, their sense of invincibility shattered. The Vinrex, once a towering symbol of might, was trembling as the weight of their mistake bore down upon them. The room, once filled with haughty discussions of galactic dominance, was now deafeningly silent, save for the crackling energy that seemed to pulse from Lyra's form. As the energy built around her, it became clear, Lyra wasn't acting alone. It was as though her will had awakened something deep within the very fabric of humanity itself, an ancient, untapped power that surged through her and radiated outwards. The council members, who had mocked her species for their primitive weapons and limited technology, now faced an enemy they could not comprehend. Lyra stood at the center, her eyes glowing with an inner fire, and spoke once more, her voice carrying a weight that seemed to echo through the very stars themselves. "You thought you could break us, humiliate us. You thought humanity's fire was easily extinguished. But you were wrong. You're not facing just one human girl anymore. You're facing every human who has ever lived, every soul that has fought and bled for survival. We are the sum of our history, our struggles, our triumphs." The power she tapped into surged once more, and the alien beings around her began to feel it. Feel their arrogance crumble beneath the unrelenting force of humanity's spirit. A sudden, harsh sound echoed through the chamber, and the holographic systems began to flicker. Energy levels spiked, and systems failed one by one. The reality of their situation began to settle in. These aliens, who had once considered themselves the pinnacle of civilization, now found themselves facing an unstoppable force. There was no escape. At the last moment, the Vinrex leader, now cowering in the corner, muttered a plea. "What do you want from us? We were just trying to maintain peace." Lyra's gaze was unwavering. "You misunderstand. This isn't about peace. It's about respect. You wanted to destroy us. You wanted to erase humanity. But you've just awakened the true power of our species. And that, you will regret." The power crackled around her like an unstoppable storm, and without another word, Lyra extended her hand. A wave of energy shot out, tearing through the chamber's defenses like paper, as though the entire structure was made of glass. The room was flooded with raw, untamed energy, energy born not of weapons or technology, but of something much deeper. Humanity's collective will to survive. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council was no more. The destruction was not swift or total, but it was absolute. Those who survived, if any, would be left with nothing but the knowledge that humanity had finally awoken, that the galaxy had underestimated them for far too long. Those who had thought themselves superior, invulnerable, were now scattered across the stars, fearful of humanity's wrath. Lyra, along with the power she had tapped into, was their living testament. News of the event spread quickly. The Council had once ruled the galaxy with an iron fist, but now they were but a shadow of their former selves. Other species who had been subjugated or oppressed under the Council's rule began to rise, emboldened by the humans' actions. A new era was dawning, an era of respect, not domination. Lyra, however, was no longer the same girl who had been dragged into the council's chambers. She was transformed, her connection to humanity's power now a permanent part of her being. She had seen what humans were capable of when pushed to their limits, and she knew that their survival wasn't guaranteed, but it was inevitable. In the face of extinction, humanity didn't just fight, it thrived. She vanished into the depths of space, her role complete. The message had been sent. Humanity would not be broken. They would not be forgotten. The Galactic Council had learned that the hard way. But Lyra's words had become a rallying cry for other species, a warning to those who would seek to dominate. "Pray," she had said, because in the end, it wasn't just a threat, it was a prophecy. The day humanity spoke without words was the day the universe realized that it would never again be the same. Years later, when the stories of the Council's fall became legend, Lyra's name was whispered not as a symbol of revenge, but of rebirth. The human species, once teetering on the edge of annihilation, had come back stronger than ever. They had erased the doubt that lingered in the minds of the stars. From the ashes of their destruction, they had forged a future that no one would dare challenge. And the message remained. Humanity had been tested, destroyed, and revived, and now nothing could stop them. The universe would learn to respect them, or they would force it to. The story of Lyra and the day humanity spoke without words was not just the story of a girl and her defiance. It was the story of a species that had fought and won against impossible odds. The Galactic Council had learned that when humanity is pushed to the brink, it doesn't fall. It rises. And once it rises, nothing will ever be the same again.